Welcome to the Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson here with my amazing co-host and producer of the Model Health Show, Jade Harrell. What's up, Jade?
What's up, Shawn?
How are you today?
Today I am womanicious.
Womanicious. Okay,
Yes.
tell me about it. Let's hear what this is.
It's ridiculously wonderful and delicious to be a woman today.
Oh, to be a woman. I like that. What's that about? A little extra spice.
Yeah, well, we've been all off into New Edition, and
Oh, yeah, you're so right.
one of my favorite songs was Delicious. So I
Oh,
am
I see.
womanicious.
That's
today.
one of those low-key songs on the
That's right.
album that you're like, why wasn't this a single?
Because it was for me.
Yeah.
It was really
I
for
like
me.
that.
They put it on there, but they knew it would get to me.
Yeah.
So that was my song.
We're just, what she's talking about, we were just vibing in the studio listening to some New Edition
That's
before
right.
the show, going through some songs. It's so crazy. They had the biopic, and which was just kind of like a little phenomenon, but it got the younger culture involved. And I'm not exaggerating. Every single morning, and this was months ago when it came out.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old son asked if we could play a New Edition song in the morning on the way taking him to school.
That's how I know you've done your job. You've done your job as a parent.
And the same thing, my 16-year-old, his favorite song is a New Edition song right now.
Yeah.
So
It's
no
perfect.
disrespect to Lil Vert, Lil Uzi Vert, and Lil Yachty, and Lil Kim, and Lil Wayne, all the Lils.
All the Lils.
No disrespect to them, but just having that variety in music and in thinking is really cool to
that
see.
unifies. That's the bond between us.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
music is sort of it's like a soundtrack of our lives, and like you shared the story with Delicious, like you were up here almost in tears
Yeah.
thinking about that
It
story. And
evoked
so
all of it, every detail.
it's something that connects all of us. And so definitely big shout out to music today.
That's
but
right.
this episode today, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, powerful stuff that's going to last you a lifetime. Today we're going to be talking about paying off sleep debt. The truth about naps.
Yeah.
So many people, since the birthing of Sleep Smarter and just seeing that kind of phenomenon all over the world in different countries it's published in, even doing talks in different places, people ask about naps. When I did a talk in the Philippines, people coming up to the microphone asking, in the Q&A session about naps.
We're coming to you for that permission, and it's almost like going to the Pope. Just grant us the okay.
So we're going to do the truth about naps today,
Okay, thank
and
you.
also sleep tips for parents.
Perfect.
So very valuable information today, and very, very excited to share this with you. I know it's going to change your paradigm, also provide you with some insights and some strategies that you can utilize on a daily basis. Before we do that, though, I want to give a quick shout out. Since we're talking about sleep,
Yes.
I got to share this study with you. There's a study that was published in the journal Pharmacology, Biochemistry, and Behavior that found that the renowned medicinal mushroom reishi was able to significantly decrease sleep latency. That means basically you fall asleep faster. That's just one thing it does. They found that it increases overall sleep time, and they also found that it increases non-REM, aka deep sleep time, and also light sleep time, which is more of the REM sleep. So it was found to do all of those things clinically. Why are you not hearing about this?
I know, right?
Why do you know about Ambien,
Yeah, how about
but you
that?
don't know about reishi? Ambien came out last week.
Yeah, we need to share an episode.
Reishi came out 5,000 years ago.
How about
all right,
that?
one of them has been tested a little bit longer.
That's right. How
And
about
so-
that?
Catch me with a mushroom. How about
That's right.
that? All right, now, the reason that I think that this is so important and valuable today is that it's easily accessible, but the quality matters. And this is why I use the reishi from Four Sigmatic. And I use their medicinal mushroom elixirs and or coffee, their mushroom coffee every day. But I switch them in and out. But for the evening wind down, definitely reishi is the go-to. And the reason that I love them is that they do a dual extraction. This is so important because most supplement companies, we're talking about 99% of them are using one extraction method. So they're not getting the complete range of compounds that are available in that mushroom to you. So for example, if you're just doing a hot water extract, which many do, then you're just getting the beta-glucan type compounds, right? So we're looking at some antioxidant capacity. That's all great, really good stuff. Not to say that it's not good, but we want all this stuff. And so they also do, Four Sigmatic does that, plus an alcohol extraction that gets the triterpenes, these kind of more hormonal compounds out of the mushroom as well. And you get all of that in these simple, easy to use little serving size packets.
I love those.
And you can, and this is the key though. And so I want to share this. Some of the medicinal mushrooms are pretty strong, right? Their flavor is pretty intense. And so how do you actually cut that, that bitterness that you can see? And so what I like to do is fat. Fat is really the key in cutting the bitterness. So
I was like,
throw into your blender,
Yeah.
The medicinal mushroom elixir. So in this case, we're talking about reishi. Then add some fats of your choice. This could be grass-fed butter. This could be coconut oil. This could be MCT oil or a combination of any of these. I really love reishi with strawberry MCT oil or pumpkin spice MCT
that was
oil.
the move.
All right.
Yeah.
Or throwing in a little bit of grass-fed butter as well and blend that up together. Fantastic.
That's
All right.
fantastic.
Those two different fats, adding a little bit of flavor. And if somebody, you want to add maybe a couple of drops of some liquid stevia, something like that, you can go there. But generally, it's going to taste really nice
Fantastic. It's
with a simple formula like that. So that's just one way to use it. Or if you're hardcore, you can go just with the packet and some hot water, and it'll be all good. But that's the medicinal aspect. Is also how it interacts with your palate. So definitely check them out. Head over to foursigmatic.com/model, and you're going to get 15% off. So that's foursigmatic.com/model. 15% off the reishi, the lion's mane, the cordyceps, the mushroom coffees. Definitely something to check out. So head over there and check them out ASAP. And on that note, let's get to the iTunes review of the week.
Let's see here. Let's go with Love Me Some Model Health. 5 stars from Danielle Strimbo. I discovered you through a friend. I can't thank her enough for sharing your ideas and podcast with me. Though I've only been able to listen to a few podcasts so far, I am looking forward to many, many more. As I approach my 50th birthday in just under 2 weeks, I realize I've let myself go. This became more apparent after a major car accident that totaled my car and left me feeling the pain even more than normal. I just finished your sleep routine podcast and know that this is a great place to start, but I want more. I want to be at a healthy weight, fit enough for the 4th of July, and pain lowered or gone. Thank you for the work you do. Next on the book schedule, Sleep Smarter.
Perfect. I love that. And I love you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that just speaks to, this is something that I've been talking about over the years. As we grow older, one of the tendencies is a slower recovery when injury takes place. Right. And strength training is one of the big defenses against that. You see equal levels of, somebody who might have an injury in their 60s recovering like somebody who's in their 30s who doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the most important things that we have to add to the mix here is making sure that we're physically literate, right? Taking care of our body, being able to do body weight exercises specifically, and also some additional strength training can be really helpful in our later years in buffering and protecting us from this additional stress that can come in the form of injury. But on that note, I want to thank everybody for heading over to iTunes and leaving us those reviews. Please keep them coming. It means the world to us. And make sure that you're subscribed to the show on iTunes. If you have an iPhone, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Stitcher. We're on Spotify now.
Yes.
If you've got your playlist going on Spotify, you can also listen to the Model Health Show there as well.
You can check us out on YouTube even, not just the video, but if you are playing other videos and audio, you can get us that way too.
Definitely. So make sure to
We're
subscribe
everywhere.
to stay up to date because we've got so many amazing shows coming for you, but none more important than today. So let's go ahead and get to our show topic. Today we're talking about paying off sleep debt, the truth about naps, and sleep tips for parents. And first and foremost, we're going to focus on this interesting new phenomenon called sleep debt.
Yeah.
All right. So
I owe, it's off to work I go.
So Now, this concept of sleep debt, to put it simply, is the cumulative effect of not getting enough sleep. All right. You're building up, you're adding to this bank account of sleep debt. All right. Now, there's 2 different kinds of sleep debt. One results from something called partial sleep deprivation, and the other results from something called total sleep deprivation. Now, partial sleep deprivation occurs when someone sleeps too little each night for several nights or even weeks. All right, that's partial sleep deprivation, not getting enough sleep each night for several nights in a row. Total sleep deprivation means being kept awake for 24 hours or more. All right. Now, many of us have found ourselves in this situation where we've experienced both of these at one time or another, I'm sure. And me personally, I remember my time working at a casino while I was in college. And even still, and the first thing that pops to mind when I think of this job is how crazy my dreams would be in my sleep.
Yeah.
Because I could hear that ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Like even in my sleep, it was so intrusive, right? And I did this work for a couple of years. And I was actually in this department. It's called hard count. All right, the hard count department. So soft count counts the paper money.
Okay.
And chips.
Yeah.
All right. A little bit easier job. Hard count, we go and gather all the coins from every machine in the entire casino. So we're like hands and knees sliding across the floor. I had that stuff down to a science. Eventually became hard count manager.
Yeah.
All right, I was the manager.
Hard count Harry. Yes.
I'm a young guy, and I'm in charge of some, people who are older than me, and it created this whole new dimension of understanding for me, even at this young age. Like the reason that we do some of the things that we're doing today, it's like life qualifies you for them. And so I had to work through a lot of stuff and figuring out how to approach that.
Right.
But that's a whole other story.
I love
Bottom
this
line was
story.
this.
You think you know
with
a
hard
guy.
count, you literally, we get locked into a vault, basically. We get locked into this room that we cannot get out of, all right?
Oh my
Unless we call somebody to
goodness.
come and get us out. And we have to count all of these coins, basically put them through machines where they can get
Sure.
wrapped up. Now, coin dust, like I'm walking around, like I sparkle 24/7, all right? I look like one of the vampires from
Twilight.
from the Twilight series, all right? I'm Team Edward, right?
Yeah,
I
you
got
are.
sparkles in my skin. And of course, inhaling that stuff
Wow.
is definitely not healthy. But
Go figure.
this was a very difficult manual labor job, right? Now, here's the reason I bring this up is that my shift started at 3:30 a.m. All right, 3:30 a.m.
Shawn.
is when my shift started. And the trip to get there from my place was about 45 minutes. So we're talking, from our St. Louis to St. Charles, 45 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
And so every day doing that was just like really takes a
and
toll
daily,
on you.
you were full time.
Yeah, I was
wow.
full time.
Oh wow.
And so doing that work, because, I had a kid, I
Yeah.
had to take care of.
Yeah.
And so doing that work, I had a continuous, that kind of partial sleep deprivation. And I kind of, quote, make it up on the weekends, my so-called weekend. And, getting by with, 6 hours, 5 hours of sleep. And it definitely took its toll. But also I did the total sleep deprivation
Sure.
because I was still young,
Right,
so we're talking
right.
maybe I'm 20 years old. And I would this is a true story.
Okay.
All right. I'm ashamed, but I'm going to tell you.
All right.
All right.
I mean, keep it real.
I would go to a club. I'll go out to a club on the east side, which you already know.
Yeah.
We're looking.
Say no more, brother.
we're looking for trouble. Good trouble.
Yes, you are.
And so I would leave
And
the
you
club.
will find it.
My shift and because also they don't close until 6 in the morning, some of them,
yeah.
So I would leave the club, go straight to work from there. All right. So I left the club at, we'll say 2:30, 3 o'clock, get to my shift. I remember one time I literally, after gathering all the money, standing there like with my hand on the side of the cart in the middle of a casino, ding, 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 I fell asleep standing up.
Yeah, you're gone.
This would if
Completely.
you want to have something freak you out,
Yeah.
fall asleep standing up in the middle of a casino.
Oh,
I mean, I woke up
wow.
like I just got implanted here from another
Right,
planet.
you were
Like,
Right.
you
right.
know? So
Wow.
I did this multiple times as well. So I know what it's
Oh, my
like
gosh.
to
So
accumulate
I can't
both of
imagine
these.
the accumulating both of them, but the amount of debt you would have accrued over
Yeah.
that time.
And as you'll discover today, it doesn't work like we think it does. So short-term sleep debt can lead to increased insulin resistance,
Yeah.
higher blood pressure, elevated stress hormones, fatigue, reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, reduced testosterone, and more. And now to give you an example of this, on episode 187, how your sleep life impacts your sex life that we did recently, there was a study that we reviewed that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that found that young men who put themselves in a sleep debt for just 1 week of getting 5 hours of sleep per night, saw their testosterone levels drop by up to 15%. Just 1 week, one work week,
Right.
all right, of the sleep debt. Now,
Yeah.
again, I've said this multiple times on the show. This might not sound like a lot. 15% drop in testosterone, it doesn't sound that bad. What that means is, what that translates to mean, according to these experts, is that it was as if the people were suddenly 10 to 15 years older as far as their testosterone production.
Right. So from 24 to 34, just like that.
Yeah.
Now, is that cumulative too? So if you, like a guy like you were at this for a couple of years, so then you're 15, does that then jump to 30? Is it compounded?
Guess what? This was all right before the time brewing when I get this diagnosis of degenerative spinal disease, right? Several things contributed to my body, my accelerated aging process that took place.
Exactly. And what did they tell you about your back? That you had the spine of an 80-year-old.
Yes.
Wow.
But the good news is, look where I'm at today.
I'm saying.
All right. So you can, all of these things can be cleared up. We have to be aware. But I just want to share what can happen even with a short-term sleep debt. All right. So definitely go back and check out episode 187 if you happen to miss that one. Super powerful, how your sleep life impacts your sex life. Now, long-term sleep debt. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Long-term sleep debt can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, diabetes, cancer, obesity, mental illness, and all-cause mortality. And there's science, thick science, lots of research backing up all of these particular issues. And I'll just share a couple of them with you. So there's a study that was published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal that showed that continuous sleep debt is directly related to an inability to lose weight. Even with the exact same diet and exercise program as the controls who got adequate sleep, test subjects who got less than 6 hours of sleep per night consistently lost less weight and less body fat than those who were not accumulating this sleep debt.
See.
So it's right there in black and white. There's another study, and this was published by the World Health Organization, that tracked the results of 657 men over several years. And this was a study that I cited in my book, Sleep Smarter. And they found that men who accumulated long-term sleep debt were twice as likely to have a heart attack and up to 4 times more likely to have a stroke during the study period. All right. So again, this is looking at long-term sleep debt. You're building this up as you go along, and at a point, it doesn't become very viable to pay this thing back. So
sure, because then it became your lifestyle.
Right.
It became,
I get 4 a night. I'm getting by.
Right. And then you missed that stroke that one time. Whew, got lucky. But if it's 4 times more, you better look left this time.
So
another option.
What I want to do is point people to the fact that, number one, the human body still, we're very resilient. We're very, very resilient, especially with short-term payback. If you're experiencing a few days or even a tough couple of weeks, all right, your body is very, very resilient in bouncing back. Now, long-term sleep debt, that's the danger zone. All right. So when we're talking about sleep debt, and if you put this in terms of, like, when we think of debt, we think about the banks and money, things like that.
I think about the casino too, though, now that you brought that up.
But that long-term sleep debt, life will foreclose on your health.
Yeah.
All right. Very quickly. And the short-term side effects of sleep deprivation might be troublesome, but again, there is this great snapback ability of the body, especially when we're talking about a day or two. So don't be neurotic about that. Don't worry about that at all.
Okay.
After that, though, when we get into the longer periods, the sleep loan sharks.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Start to send the muscle. All right, they're sending the muscle to come rough you up a bit.
Oh, boy.
All right, so what are some tips and strategies that we can employ here so that we can bounce back and really express that resiliency when we have a couple of days or even, up to a week or a little bit longer of sleep debt, because again, things happen in life. How can we bounce back? So here's some tips. A lot of times we can actually foresee when sleep debt might be coming. All right. And we can take action to buffer it. For example, for many years, and this is back in the day, when traveling,
I love what we're getting here.
When traveling, my family, specifically my wife, we would have issues with packing late, right? We got to get up early for a flight, and it's like 11, just starting to get packing, and we got to get up and, be out of the house at 6 in the morning. And of course, especially when you're packing late and you're rushing, you're going to just be bouncing all over the place, I've been guilty of it too. No disrespect, honey.
I'm just saying, says the one who's packing the bag.
But I'm packing as well.
Okay.
We self-pack.
I needed to hear that.
We self-pack. She's not picking out, my socks or whatever. And so this would happen over and over again. But for her, again, to see this coming, I know that it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So creating a strategy and employing more assistance and help for her to make sure that she's getting the packing done early in the day, and myself included.
Sure.
So I know that is a potential issue. So I learned to adjust and fix that mistake that would happen. The reason that it didn't matter so much to her is that she could sleep on the flight. She's like, I'll sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
She could sleep anywhere. I mean, anytime, anywhere. She could sleep through an earthquake. I'm not kidding. And she did. She actually did. When we had the earthquakes, I woke up. I'm thinking that, I'm transforming into a superhero or something. Like, it's finally happening. Like, it's the earthquake. I'm like, am I doing this? I'm an inhuman.
Right.
And I'm like, looking over, like, do you feel this? And she's just like, so gone. I mean, hibernation. Times 10,
Describe it. That's
and
so
but for me, I'm as far as Dr. Bruce, Dr. Michael Bruce, the chronotypes, I'm definitely more of a lion. I'm an early riser. So if I'm staying up late, I still have a tendency. My body wants to get up early, so it doesn't really work for me. And also sleeping on flights has not been my forte either.
Sure.
So for me, I really wanted to. I foresaw what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I created strategies for us to get our packing done early. Simple as that.
What did it look like?
Well, this was simple stuff like, when we take the kids to school in the morning and we go and do our workout, coming back and getting that thing done immediately, or putting it on my calendar that after, I finish these particular tasks, then I'll go and get our packing done, right? So it's just as simple as scheduling, rather than like, I know I got to pack at some point today,
That's
right?
how we operate.
So it's really simple.
Then there's the other stuff, because there's just so much stuff, right?
And that's just one example.
That's great.
Now, another important thing with paying back the sleep debt is to get back on routine as soon as you can.
Oh, yeah.
Because what can happen is that it can become a little bit of a habit very quickly, when you're being sleep deprived. And so as soon as you have a rough couple of days or whatever the case might be, get back on track, right? Get yourself right back on track and understand that I can feel so much better. Because what tends to happen is your body, being that it's so resilient, it will get adjusted. And especially when night rolls around, because you're like, I'm going to go to get bed early tonight. I'm definitely going to go to bed early tonight. But then it rolls around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And especially if your hormones are a little bit off from being sleep deprived, cortisol is going to be a little bit higher. And you're like, oh, I'm good. I'll just go ahead and get this work done. I'll do this really quick little thing. Next thing you know, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and you're in that pattern again.
Exactly.
So if you have this happen where you have a couple of days of sleep debt accumulated, get yourself back on track.
Break the cycle.
All right. Now, another thing that we can add to the mix here, and this is what I employ, especially when I'm traveling or just, if there's a couple of nights of rough sleep, whatever's going on, I'll use some supplemental melatonin, which I'm not a fan of people using melatonin on a consistent basis.
That's right.
This is key. And I wrote about this in Sleep Smarter because there was a study done that found that consistently taking melatonin, especially in higher doses, which people tend to do, you're going to see a reduction or downregulation of your receptor sites for melatonin. That means your body can still produce melatonin just fine, but it won't be able to use it. It won't be able to use the melatonin that you're producing or taking in an optimal way, which that is a problem.
That is a problem.
So what we want to do is, it's amazing when we have this in spot cases, right? For a couple of days to get your body on track, or you're changing time zones, traveling, things like that. I think it's wonderful. And so I use the melatonin, the sprayable melatonin, because also taking it sublingually, it absorbs faster into your bloodstream when you spray it under your tongue. The melatonin, sprayable melatonin from Onnit, that's what I utilize. So if you guys aren't using that, this is just a great tool to have in your back pocket. I always travel with it. So go to onnit.com/model. That's ONNIT.com/MODEL. And you get 10% off of the melatonin. And so that's another thing that you can employ, add to the mix. Also, you want to focus when you've got a little bit of sleep debt built up. You want to focus on good food, healthy snacks, smart supplementation. Now, why am I saying this? Is that when you're sleep deprived, even a couple of days of sleep debt, you have to really be crafty with your food and your food choices, because when you're sleep deprived, there's a tendency for the gremlin that pop out, the snacky poo. All right. What was that?
Because I was transforming. I know that guy. I know that guy. You're like, get back in there. Down.
So what we want to do is understand that this is going to happen. You're going to have a tendency, more of a draw and a craving for higher carbohydrate foods specifically.
Yes.
So we want to be mindful of that. Understand clinically. So we look at studies from Stanford, and how they found that sleep deprivation, just 24 hours, again, this total sleep deprivation, for example, they did in this study, suppresses leptin, which is your body's satiety hormone that makes you feel like you're good, like when you eat food. And also we see a correlated increase in ghrelin, right? Gremlin, which is your body's glorified hunger hormone, right?
Your hangry hormone.
So be more crafty and conscious about your food choices, because you don't want to spin this thing out of control. Because what that's going to do when you make those poor food choices and you're sleep deprived already, you're going to have issues with blood sugar. You're going to have issues with stress hormones. It's just going to add more wood to the fire, I guess you say.
Yeah.
More wood. Sorry.
More fire to the fire.
It's going to add more fire to the fire.
Too. Yeah.
Just go ahead and put this gasoline on the fire.
Exactly. Raging.
It's a liquid.
That's right. Right on.
So you also need to be aware that you'll need to support your immune system and not trash it. So that's another valuable aspect when we're talking about our food choices as well, because their immune system, the vast majority of your immune system is hanging out in your gut. So what goes in there matters. So we want real foods, real whole foods, healthy snacks, and system boosters. And I just traveled recently, and we were able to have on hand the recovery protein from On It. To love.
Right.
# love it. And their trilogy butter.
Oh, man.
Walnut, almond, cashew butter. Put that in the blender with some ice, half a banana. This is post-workout, of course. I earned it.
You
All
did,
right.
because I know
It's
you
like,
guys got with it. You have to talk about that, too.
They were like slushies, like vanilla ice cream slushies. It was so good. So definitely head over, check them out, onnit.com/model, 10% off. They got so much good stuff. Now, also with the sleep debt, you want to line up things to go to bed on time. We should be doing this anyways, but when you're experiencing sleep debt, you have to foresee it. You have to have some structure. You have to be adamant about it to line things up.
You have to know what it is as it's coming towards you.
Yes.
Is that a bull or is that sleep deprivation?
Olay.
Oh, right.
Olay on both of them.
Exactly.
So one of the ways also to kind of shift gears here. Now, the big takeaway, sleep debt, small amounts, easily paid back.
Okay,
all right.
Great.
Little payday loan. All right.
Yeah.
1,000% interest.
There you go.
You pay it back next week.
No
You're good.
problem, right.
All right.
Otherwise,
Go a little bit longer.
that's your
Problem.
firstborn
Foreclosure
child.
starts to take place. Oh, Rumpelstiltskin. Yes. So one of the ways, so again, just understanding the human body is very resilient. If you experience that, which you will from time to time, crazy stuff is going to happen from time to time, but there's a great ability for your body to bounce back, and to bounce back effectively and with strength, grace, and you're going to feel good in no time. However, if you allow that to be stretched out for longer periods, we can get into some real trouble spots. So one of the ways that people tend to try and pay off sleep debt is through naps. Now,
Ka-ching.
we're going to talk about the truth. We're going to get into the truth about naps, all right? The first thing I want to cover is, what are some common reasons for napping?
Because we're tired.
What is it? That's Captain Obvious
Got
there.
it. Okay,
Jay.
okay.
Let's dig a little
What's
deeper.
happening
All right, get your little shovel. Dig in,
I love
okay?
that.
Let's get the shovel.
The one for the garden, yes.
So, common reasons for napping. Number one, poor sleep quality the night before, right? Poor sleep quality at night. That's one of the underlying reasons for napping. Boredom. That's another reason for napping. Also, a tipping point on stress.
Yeah. For sure.
So meaning excessive physical and or mental and or emotional stress. And so just for example, that moment when you have so much to do that you decide to just lay down and take a nap instead.
Right.
It's just too much.
I love it.
Too much stress. Or it might be a physical stress. Maybe you went through a really exceptionally tough workout or whatever the case might be, or something, really is emotionally taxing for you, can really kind of pull your system down and draw you into nappy time.
Right.
So that's another important reason or thing that we tend to look past for napping.
Sure. Some people miss, though, even for positive stress. I've got the cutest entrepreneurial friend who just started her business and it really took off. She's getting noticed. getting new contracts and articles written about her. And every time she talks about something great that happened, she says, "Ooh, I got to take a nap." It's just so overwhelmingly great that she wants to go lay down.
You know what's so interesting is that there's going to be some assimilation from what you covered, in that meeting, which we're going to talk about in just a second. So the nap might be actually beneficial in a way.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like, girl, chill.
Right.
Chill a little bit.
They've got goats where that happens. They get startled and they just fall over.
I don't know a thing about goats.
I've got to share that with you.
I know, I've seen the goat video, but I don't know what's going on with the sudden napping.
They're just overwhelmed.
So also so we covered the tipping point on stress. Another reason is misreading biological cues. So what I mean by that is we've talked about this before on the show, biological rhythms. And there are natural times, these kind of ebb and flow states of certain hormones being produced and your energy being up and down throughout the day. And that's natural. So we might see it as, we kind of feel a little bit more tired and our body's kind of nudging us to just relax and slow down. But we're just like, I need to go to sleep. Right. So just misreading the cue. Okay. Because there's something called afternoon quiescent phase, right? This afternoon quiescent phase that humans are seen to have. If you look at, our cortisol rhythm, for example, there's a little drop in cortisol in the afternoon. And this depends on your chronotype of when this is happening, but this might draw you into a little nappy time. Now, you'll also notice that when you get sleepy during the day, within 20 or 30 minutes, and if you can't sleep, within 20 or 30 minutes, you're okay again. Right? It's
if you can get past that little ridge there.
And so this doesn't necessarily mean you need to take a nap, but maybe just relax, wind down, just kick back, kick your heels up, maybe do some meditation.
Oh, sure.
Breathe, have a little social time, whatever the case might be.
Instead
so
of
there can
pulling
be
out the pillow and blanket.
Right. Also, one other reason behind the scenes, unstable blood sugar. All right, so we see this consistently with the strong afternoon crash after lunch, right? If we're eating, we're at the Olive Garden, right? We get fancy, and they bring out the breadsticks.
That's a wrap,
right? Pasta. But my jam was I've only been to Olive Garden a couple of times. My jam was the pasta house.
Okay,
right? They bring you this bowl of flaming lasagna, and I'd eat myself into the itis, right? You get the itis, right? The food itis, food coma.
And just say that I got the itis. Like it's a natural statement. Like I'll get the check and I've got the itis.
I'm gonna need a bed over here at table 3. So that unstable blood sugar can be another reason that we want to take a nap. Now, after looking at some of these reasons, let's shift gears, and I want to share some information because I want to say, don't let the nap fool you. All right, don't let the nap fool you. There's a study that was conducted by the Unit for Experimental Psychiatry at the Institute of Pennsylvania Hospital that found that napping during prolonged sleep loss may serve to prevent sleepiness much more than it helps to actually recover from the sleep loss. All right, so having that nap might help with the sleepiness you're feeling, but it's not necessarily helping you to recover from the poor quality sleep you're getting. So I don't want you to let the nap fool you.
So it's like a scratch
You're not
ticket.
better.
Yeah.
At a deeper level, you're not better from the nap. But we just want to get past the sleepiness so we can continue our day.
Help me.
Right? Now, let's talk about the ideal amount of time to take a nap. Okay. Because naps are going to happen. Let's not deny what is. So how can we optimize this thing? Now,
not in the middle of a casino floor, standing up.
That's how you do it wrong. All right. Congratulations, you played yourself.
That's a big fail. Falling
asleep standing in the middle of a casino. All right. Waking up like you're in a straight up nightmare. I woke up from the nightmare and I'm in a nightmare. It's a dream within a dream. Whoa. Inception myself on accident. So scientists have found that a 10 to 26 minute nap can be most beneficial if you're sleepy. All right. Okay. 10 to 26 minute nap. Now, this, quote, power nap, right? Everybody's heard of the power nap.
Disco nap.
Has been found to increase alertness, concentration, elevate mood, and even enhance motor skills. Now, there's a study, and this was published in Clinical Neurophysiology, that was conducted on young adult test subjects and found that a short 20-minute nap improved subjective sleepiness, performance level, and self-confidence of their task performance, i.e., their mood improved.
Okay.
All right. So we see a clinical boost in mood and getting past that sleepiness from that power nap. Now, let's move a little bit further.
Okay.
Here's what the research says about napping for 30 to 60 minutes. Now, that might sound seductive, like let me get a good 30 in. But this can actually result in feelings of grogginess and feeling out of sorts that can last for even a half an hour or more. Now, this happens because you'll inherently start teetering into the deeper stages of sleep. That's really the issue.
It costs you.
And there's something called sleep inertia, right? Sleep inertia that gets stronger here. And it's basically if you've ever had the experience if you're napping for a while and you just can't seem to pull yourself out of it. Right? It's just pulling you in. It's like you're in the sunken place or something. Like I can't get out, right? You're reaching up and you just can't get out. And even though this happens, this is something where we're experiencing this grogginess after napping, which you would think that you would feel better. There is some clinical benefit seen here. And so in this time frame, it's not necessarily boosting your energy as far as your experience, but there is a statistical boost in memory. Now, there's a study that's published in the Journal of Neurobiology of Learning and Memory that had participants in the study try to learn 90 single words and 120 unconnected word pairs, such as milk taxi. All right, just unconnected word pairs. Some of them then, after studying these words, trying to learn them, some of them either then watched a DVD while others slept. Okay. So the study was they have them try to learn these words, then some of them they have go and watch the DVD, others sleep. Now, when they were retested, those who had slept remembered more word pairs than their movie-watching counterparts. Now, researchers at Saarland University in Germany say that a 45-minute nap can produce up to a five-fold improvement in information retrieval from memory. Now, what that means is this is looking at it's not saying that just because you nap, your memory's better. This is if people are tired and then trying to work.
Got it.
So you can have a five-fold benefit if you're tired and you get this nap, you can come back better.
All right,
That's
so
what they're
I'm
saying.
going to assume that means not at night when we should naturally be asleep.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a second.
And then I'd probably add the other caveat that how we have curfews where we stop an activity and then rest, or we're falling out as we're doing the thing and we need to stop and take this time to rest.
Yeah. So yes, we're going to cover the ideal time to nap for people as well. But it's just important to understand some of the background of what's happening with this. And also, so that's a time frame, but what actual time of day matters as well, which we'll get to in just a second. So there's a nice benefit here, but again, you're going to be much more likely to experience strong sleep inertia with a nap that's this long.
Perfect.
Now, if you're actually sleep deprived and you're able to do this without getting fired, what I'm about to share, then you may want to opt for a 90-minute nap, give or take a few minutes. And here's why. This is actually the time needed for a full sleep cycle on average. So this can be anywhere from 75 to 120 minutes, depending on your unique biology. And this complete sleep cycle would include some deep sleep and REM sleep. Now, this is found clinically to lead to improved emotional and procedural memory and creativity. Also, there's some body and brain repair that can take place here as well.
Oh, good.
And you can generally move past that strong sleep inertia when you get a nap of that length, because you're getting a complete sleep cycle.
Perfect.
All right? So, again, if you're not going to get fired, you might want to look at 90 minutes or a power nap.
Right.
All right, now let's shift gears and talk about the best time of day to actually nap. For everyone across the board, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there, before 4 p.m.
Okay.
All right, if you're planning on sleeping normally at night, nap before 4. This is a great time to bring up the conversation we had with Dr. Michael Bruce, and this was episode 175, Discover Your Chronotype and Leverage the Power of When. And he talks about these biological chronotypes and how we're unique, but we're also kind of classified in these 4 different categories. And he uses mammals instead of being a night owl, which is a bird. He uses a mammal, the wolf, right?
Sure.
And so the lion is the early riser, And then we have the bears who tend to be, that's kind of what society's built on, the bear schedule, right? And the wolves tend to be more the quote night owls, right? And then there's the dolphins who are just kind of all over the place, all right? Shout out to
I don't
Flipper.
know any of those.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm looking at it. What'd you say? Yeah, I thought so. When I looked over at you, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Saw. Yeah.
Jade,
that's
Jade
funny.
Flipper Harrell.
That was one of my favorite animals, and I thought I wanted to be an oceanographer growing up because I wanted to be with dolphins.
Well,
Would
I
you
learn
look at
something new every time,
Look at
every
it.
day, every day.
I know what you said.
so-
You said, would you look at that?
Just look at it. And so if you want to get some more information on how to discover your own chronotype, definitely go back and listen to that episode because there's clinically, he's looking at what are the ideal times for you to eat, for you to go to sleep, to get up, to nap, to have sex. You know, it's like really interesting stuff. And so you can check out that episode. But just to give you the long and short of it, what he recommends when we're a lion is that generally we're talking about early risers, so waking up somewhere around 6 a.m. And he said, and he sent me this in a text as a reminder. I'm looking at my phone right now. And he said that the ideal nap time is 1:30 if you're going to nap.
Okay.
If you need it, that's the key.
Right.
For a bear, that's my wife is a bear. We knew this already going into the study.
Yeah.
Wake up time is closer to 7 a.m. Best nap time is around 2 p.m. Now, looking at wolves, who tend to be more of the night folks, he recommends not napping a little bit more for the wolf, but if it is desired, it's best to do it around 2:30-ish. All right, 2:30-ish. So that's what the expert on this power of when says about that. And so, and you might notice biologically, like experientially, that those are the times your body's kind of winding down a little bit and wanting to take a nap. But again, we've got to get to the core of this and understand this is the big takeaway here is that the number one driver for the desire, the number one reason for strongly needing a nap is poor quality sleep at night. All right. So we want to focus on getting great sleep at night. It's like a nap is like a supplement. All right.
Yeah, there
Your
you
sleep
go.
at night is the real food.
Great
You don't want to
analogy.
mistake the two.
Great.
So make sure that you're getting optimal sleep at night so that you don't feel this draw. And it's kind of societally, it's looked down upon a little bit, you know, like you're sleeping on the job.
Right.
Right.
Sleep when you're dead. You'll die.
Right.
Right. You're gonna die.
So
You're not sleeping.
here's the key. And I don't want that kind of, because a great nap is a great nap and it can be very helpful. So
It's yummy.
we're changing that paradigm right now. And society's also changing as well and not looking down on somebody who's napping. Like you can actually perform better at your job. Google, when I did a talk at Google, I got to see they got standing desks, there's sleep pods, right? They have these sleep pods for employees to go and take a nap. Right? Because they know that this is going to improve their work performance. So why not? Let's support it instead of having people just punish themselves if their body really needs a nap. But what we do want to do first and foremost is make sure we're serving people so they have the strategies to get great sleep at night in the first place. So we can change culture, so we can actually have the health and fitness that we all really desire, because that is found in getting great sleep.
So
Now-
then, if I'm getting the great sleep, is there no need for the nap? Or is that kind of like the dessert of the
Again,
of the
simple,
evening?
it's a supplement.
Got it.
It's a supplement.
Okay.
Generally, and I've experienced this. I shared the story working at a casino. I perpetually felt naps were great, right? Just if I could tuck in and get a nap in, all good. But for me today, I don't really have that draw. I don't have that strong pull to take a nap. Every now and then, of course, I might just want to wind down. It's time to kick back, you know, have a seat, because I'm generally working at my standing desk, you know, have a seat, relax, maybe, you know, have a conversation on the phone, talk to my wife, just kind of cool out for a little bit, go play a little pool, right? And so just something to just kind of chill, kick back, and not force myself to try to work and beat myself to the ground. I don't have to do that, but I don't feel that strong need, like I got to go lay down.
Sure.
Right?
And
So-
nor a need for the additive value that you could assume would come with it. It doesn't occur to you that it brings some additive value either. You know,
Right,
you're not
yeah.
drawn to it, and you're not necessarily needing it to cap off anything else either.
Yeah.
Got it.
But if somebody does need a nap, especially, you know, if they're getting up really early and they're not naturally an early riser because of their work structure, because of their hustle, we want to have permission. Give yourself permission to take a nap for sure. But again, Don't mistake the supplement for the real food.
Don't let
Also,
the nap fool you.
melatonin during the
I love
day.
that.
This is another important subject matter here is melatonin is this glorified sleep hormone. It helps to really optimize those sleep cycles. And when you're sleeping during the day, the question is melatonin getting released? No, it's not. The pineal gland only releases melatonin when two conditions are satisfied. One, it is biological night, okay? Biological night. And two, light levels are low.
Okay.
You need to satisfy both of these conditions.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by biological night? Well, there's people
it.
who work the night shift, right? They do shift work and they're sleeping during the day, all right? So if your body gets entrained, because we're very adaptable, you can produce melatonin during the day. However, we need darkness. So this is a call to action to make sure you're sleeping in like a cave. Like you get blackout curtains, you get your room as dark as possible, like it's nighttime in your bedroom. Do the best you can. There's even hacks from the health weirdos out there. All right, I might be in that camp a little bit, but if you don't have access to the blackout curtains, go get some aluminum foil. All right, not to make a hat like the aliens are reading my mind, not like that, but to put on your windows. You can just cover up your windows with some aluminum foil. So there's different little hacks that you could do to create your little sleep cave, your little sleep sanctuary. This will enable you to produce melatonin, which is a very powerful anti-cancer hormone, very powerful fat regulating hormone. It's not just for sleep. These are important things that this hormone does that you're not producing, you're not secreting if you're not getting a dark cycle. All right, so those two things need to be satisfied. So true deep sleep, that's going to happen at night. All right, so again, the nap is a nap. You're not getting the same benefit. Now let's talk about these concepts called biphasic and polyphasic sleep.
Okay.
Biphasic sleep, polyphasic sleep. Biphasic sleep is a practice of sleeping during two periods over 24 hours. So there's two sleep periods, all right? Polyphasic sleep refers to sleeping multiple times throughout the day, usually more than two. What most people are accustomed to in our culture is monophasic, where you have one sleep segment in the evening. So if we look at evolution-based practices, humans evolved being up during the day and sleeping during night because it was just safer to do so. That's how we made it this far, all right? There was a time not too long ago when being out in the wilderness in the evening was very dangerous. It's a volatile situation. So this was a time to seek shelter, to be quiet, your most quiet time, even if you're a whisperer. Even if you're a whisperer is when you're actually sleeping, okay? So that you're not getting found out.
Right.
Because nocturnal creatures, like there are some animals that can see you in the dark very clearly, but you can't see them. All right, so all of a sudden, you're the prey, okay? We're the top of the food chain, human. Well, get out there rummaging around in the evening. And so it's just understanding
Catch
that.
me at night. How about that?
Oh, my goodness. All right, we got to retire that one. We got to retire.
We have to, baby girl. We need to help baby girl.
So speaking from evolutionary biology, sleeping at night is what we'll have a tendency to do. Now, the biphasic sleep is something that has been noted with indigenous cultures, right? And this is not true across the board. Please don't believe the hype that humans always, like every culture, every human as we evolved had two sleep phases, all right? That's not proven. What we can see is that there are some subcultures that do have that as an aspect. And so what that looks like is they go to sleep for a first sleep during the night, wake up maybe for an hour, then they have their second sleep during the night. That's the key.
Okay.
All right. So maybe they sleep for 4 hours. They're up for maybe 30 minutes or an hour. They sleep for another 3 hours or whatever the case might be. So
I think I'm from that tribe.
what that looks like to share is what they might do. And so we'll just go back even 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
All right. We've got fire. We don't have iPhones. All right. So what would you do if you woke up for that first phase? Your first sleep is over. You might grab a snack. You might talk. You might have sex. And then you go back to sleep. All right. I saw those eyebrows pop up.
Yeah,
like, eyebrows like,
it sounded interesting.
Was it the snack or the sex?
Either way.
So that's what you might do
Depending on the night.
throughout our evolution, right? We'd get up and we'd have those options.
Yeah.
Today, wake up, Internet's on your phone, turn on the lights, very different
Yeah.
in how your body responds as well. So we're going to start secreting more daytime hormones as soon as we do those activities.
Yeah.
So you can't use the argument of I'm going to be biphasic sleeping and you're getting up and getting on your iPhone.
Well, no, because Snapchat, snack, and sex weren't the option.
Right, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Triple S. Today is triple S. Now, looking at this in a more of a meta perspective and being able to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, biphasic sleep could be something that's an option for you. And some people are concerned that they might wake up during the night. And I want to put to bed your concern because there can potentially be some underlying reasons why, but there's also some potential piece here to understand that there are tracks of cultures who have woken up in the night, up for a little bit, and they go back to sleep. The key, though, and this is really important, is that the time you go to bed matters, and it matters a lot. You need to go to bed early enough so you have time to get a first and second sleep. All right, that is the key. Again, if you're trying to do this, you're going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and
Not so much.
yes, that's
Yeah.
not how. That's
Taking
defeating
your
the
sleep
purpose.
break. Yeah, not cool.
A great example of this is Eric Thomas, right?
Yeah.
E.T., who we've had on the show a couple of times. Just an amazing individual, good friend, and I truly feel like is one of the most enlightened and empowering humans walking around.
Nice.
And he accidentally, I did their show recently, the Secrets of Success
I loved
podcast.
that episode.
They titled the episode "Death of the Dad Bod." All right, so
was
check
great.
check out that episode if you listen to their show, and definitely check out their show. So what was so interesting is that I mentioned, because his kind of claim to fame is that I get up before you to beat you, right? I'm not the smartest person, but I'm going to outwork you. So I'm up at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
What time do you get up? But he goes to bed early too.
Okay.
That's the part that people don't really pay attention to. And also this whole no sleep thing, or kind of impressing that he's not saying don't sleep. He's just saying don't sleep too much.
Right.
Because that other aspect that we talked about earlier, boredom, right? Boredom, or this intrinsic stress that we allow to happen instead of taking action.
Right.
Okay, that's what you don't want to sleep on. But as far as your health and your longevity and you being able to crush your goals, you got to get the adequate sleep. So he'd go to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock. Okay. So, and plus that's an anabolic window there that I talk about in Sleep Smarter, this quote, money time sleep, where we're getting a greater secretion of anabolic hormones if you're sleeping between 10 p.m.
There you go.
and 2 a.m. in the evening. That block is this anabolic window, very anabolic state to be in, where you're getting more benefit than sleeping other times.
I remember
So-
you said it was like double that
Yeah.
10 to 12.
It can be looked at like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Some of the hormonal benefits, enzymatic benefits, very interesting. Now, we're definitely hardwired to sleep much more during the night than during the day. So that's to be clear when we're talking about the truth about naps. And the function of melatonin tells us that. That's how you know that this is the case. You're not producing melatonin during the day unless you're meeting those two requirements we talked about earlier. We produce melatonin, which makes your sleep fully optimized, where you're going through all the stages effectively, going in and out of them, getting full recovery when melatonin is produced, and you don't get that during the day. So this tells us, again, we're more hardwired to sleep during the night than during the day. But nap if you need it. Nap if you need it. Just follow these basic guidelines that we talked about today and look to ensure that your nighttime sleep is optimized in the first place, because that's really the biggest key. And the stigma around napping that we've talked about is getting removed from organizations. So, because, quote, nobody wants to get caught sleeping. All right. But a good nap is a good nap. A good nap is a good nap. And again, naps are like supplements. Remember that. Naps are like supplements. The real food comes during high quality sleep at night, and we don't want to mistake the two. And on that note, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about this other, and this was because of the messages that I've been getting and, out there on the road and hearing from people wanting to know about these things. What about as a parent? What do you do with sleep when it comes to like having a family, especially when you have a new baby, right? How do you manage that? How can we actually stay healthy, get adequate sleep as best we can in that situation? So that's what we're going to talk about now. So I've been there, first and foremost. We have to establish that fact. I have 3 children. I've done this multiple times now. All right. So I know what it's like when you are adjusting to a new human showing up on the planet,
right.
and you are fully responsible for their well-being.
And they're completely at a loss about what they're here for and what's going on.
Right. And, there's this saying in culture, sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
Right? Sleep like a baby. And somebody's like, well, they must not have babies then. Well, let me clarify what that actually means. When babies sleep, they sleep. They're not thinking about paying a phone bill, or they're not thinking about, I got to get up and get to work. That's what sleeping like a baby means. That means peaceful, restful, letting go, unclutching. That's what sleeping like a baby means. We can all achieve that, and we could admire our children for being able to do this. Now, we have to understand, this is the fundamental principle guiding this whole thing with sleep tips for parents. When you have a new child, we'll just say, your baby's a few weeks old, maybe a couple months old. Your child wants to sleep too. They actually want to sleep, but we're hardwired to believe that they're against us. They don't care about our needs.
Why?
The child wants to sleep, and they just want their conditions met so that they can get the sleep that they really want to have too.
Nice.
So we have to have that as a fundamental underlying understanding. Now, there's a whole lot of different variances that this can look like as far as the strategies, which we don't. This is not the place to cover this, but there's, co-sleeping. There is, the self-soothing methodology, parents' response, just basically, your kid's in the other room, you get up when they cry kind of thing. There's lots of different modalities, and we're not here to debate those. It matters what feels right to you. If you want to co-sleep and just be able to have your child there, easy access, to feedings, if you're breastfeeding, that kind of thing, or if they're just even sitting in the bassinet next to you, whatever that structure looks like, or, if your child is sleeping in another room close to you, or they got the sleep monitor, whatever it might be, that is most important. You have to decide what works best for you. So after that's established, we're moving on to what really, at the end of the day, what we want to look towards.
Okay.
It just depends on when this is going to happen. If you're doing co-sleeping, this isn't going to happen as soon. All right. But we want to first and foremost, you have to create a neural association for our child. A pattern.
Yes.
Their brains are looking for patterns. It's hardwired to do so. Our brains are doing the same thing, even with we're just big adult babies.
Right.
Our brains are always looking to automate behaviors. So we want to create a structure. We want to create a strong neural association for sleep. So there is a critical need for an actual bedtime ritual. As soon as you can start to employ that with your child, no matter what. This is the key, though. No matter what. Usually it's us who are not creating the ritual.
That's true.
For our kids.
Yeah.
Because our stuff is crazy.
Yeah, right, yeah.
All right, so again, understanding the foundational thing, the child wants to sleep too, and we have to make sure their needs are met. Now, last little caveat before we get into these strategies. The first couple of weeks when a child is born, you can kind of forget about getting 8 hours of sleep. This is not going to work that way, all right? It doesn't work like that. But your child, again, is seeking already to establish a pattern. And you find over the days and weeks that they're sleeping for longer periods at a time. That's a time for what tends to happen, especially, even in the evening. You put the baby down. Okay, I got some time, me time.
Right.
You need to sleep
shower.
time. Sleep when the baby sleeps, generally.
Yeah.
Of course, you still have to, handle stuff with life, right? But generally, you want to sleep when the baby sleeps, especially at night when it's not your work time. This is your Netflix time, all right? Sleep when the baby sleeps. You got to establish that piece.
Around?
Now, so my story, I just want to share this. People say like my baby's a good sleeper or my baby's not a good sleeper, right? I've seen both. And I realized that it was me influencing that more than I recognized. Like my sleep pattern was all over the place. I didn't know these things when I was dealing with what I called a baby that's not a good sleeper. For my son, my youngest son coming into the world, I already knew. I was like, bro, we're doing this, all right? And so after the first 6 weeks, he was sleeping through the night.
That's nice.
All right? 8 to 10 to sometimes 11 or 12 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, how is that even possible? Isn't he hungry?
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't he need to eat? This boy, he's the biggest kid in his class.
See.
All right? He's like some kind of little monster, all right? Little giant monster, beautiful monster.
Right.
And he is incredibly healthy and robust. And even then, he was growing well. So what we did was I came into it and we created the neural association. He'd get the wash up. Then we would read, So this is even when he's very, very little, just even sitting there on my lap.
Absolutely.
And it just got much stronger, of course, as he became a few months old. We played us very specific music every single night, put this music on, and he got his biggest feeding. Like my wife she would keep a little bit, for the feeding prior. Like, okay, that's good enough, little guy. And be a little bit hungrier, and he went to town. Like he ate a lot right before that. So he's nice and full, nice full belly, nice and warm. And, that's what we saw. That is my experience. And I remember we went to get a movie, and this was when we go to get movies still. Like it wasn't that long ago, but still it's like, so we're at the checkout, and we're getting a movie, and, we're holding him in his little car seat thing. I'm holding him. And a couple came over. He's like, "Oh, he's so cute. Oh my God." But you guys aren't sleeping still, are you? And he's probably 6 months old at this point, or maybe 8 months. I think he was 8 months old.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, you have no idea who you're talking to because of coming into this, knowing that my child wants to sleep and we have to establish this neuroassociation. Now, this is the key. It was hard sometimes when you're tired to go through with the ritual. Oh, yeah. You just kind of want to just put the baby to bed and just get away, right? Yes. But you have to stick to the ritual. It's us. We have to stick to the ritual. And with that said, in parentheses, kids, again, they're still going to throw curveballs. It's not going to be perfect. And sometimes, and some people listening are like, my kid still did this or that.
Right.
This is still going to be individually based. We've got to find those things and stay true to that. Make it more of a priority. Because what we tend to do is we're just so tired that we just forfeit it. Like, I'll just get a couple of hours of sleep, right? Even when the baby's a year old, right? And he's doing the same thing, So
it also takes getting to know that baby. So maybe 3 of the 5 things worked, and then you're thinking, well, these 2 things didn't work. It may be something entirely different altogether than what you thought of.
Yes.
And babies have a real good way of letting you know, no, that's not it.
Yes.
Yeah. And even one of ours, it was they wanted to ride in the car. So we had to take a trip around the block. And by the time we got back to the house, that we were done. But it took some time figuring out that it wasn't what we had done with the kid before, or what we had expected to just be a simple bath and song and rub down, which worked for a couple of them. Yeah. But it's just really, like you said, on an individual basis per kid in your house.
We got to try the thing and then be consistent with it.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
Because what we do as adults is we tend to find something that works and we stop doing it.
Right. And we keep doing the thing that doesn't work and wondering what's wrong.
Right. Why aren't you submitting to this music I'm playing? Shawn said, he's a sleep expert, right?
I don't like
he said, play this music.
Exactly.
Right. When in actuality.
He likes Marley.
Oh my goodness. I thought you said Molly at first.
No.
I'm like, Cyrus? Have you seen? Well, maybe her old, maybe the Disney Channel stuff.
You never know.
I don't know.
If that's what
if
that's what the baby needs.
So you have to own it. You have to drop the preconceived notions about our kids wrecking our sleep. Even if you're getting a strong 5 hours of sleep, that's a huge win. We want to repeat the practices, even when it doesn't turn out being 5 hours. Maybe it's 3.5 the next night or 4. Repeat the practices that got you that 5.
Sure.
Stick to it,
okay.
right?
Okay.
And also, again, foundational understanding. Your kid wants to sleep too. They just want the conditions to do so.
Where were you 13 years
Evening
ago?
routines that enhance sleep, accelerate fat loss, and supercharge your brain. That's episode 216 for all of us. We all need to go back and listen to that episode. There's some powerful strategies there to optimize your sleep. And also you can pull some of these things in for your kids as well. But really quick in closing, there's some components here. Jade mentioned getting out and driving the car. Flashback, 200 years ago, he might have got out and drove around or rode around in the buggy, right? The horse and carriage, maybe. There's been random things humans have done, I'm sure, to try to figure out how to get their baby to go to sleep.
Gosh.
But some basic components: a bath or wash up, pajamas, putting on pajamas, neuroassociation, right? Neuroassociation, brushing their teeth, reading, music. Yeah. These are just some basic things, some things you can pull and employ, but there are, dozens of other things that can be put into the mix here. Of course, we're talking about a smaller child, a feeding as well will be there close to bedtime.
But it'd be good for both of you, actually. Maybe the baby likes you being fresh before bed and being in different clothing and energy. and mood. So you got a routine that you and the baby and the young child are going through.
Yeah.
And that may set the tone. You could be administering, like you said, giving the routine to the child, but not incorporating yourself. And that may be a missing piece.
You need to change your clothes. You got on your work clothes from yesterday. All right. And your baby in the baby's head calling you stinky mommy, right? You're stinky mommy or stinky daddy.
Yeah.
You know, we have to, again, that self-care is important because that gives us the energy to be able to employ these things in the first place. It's so much more difficult to do these things and to be patient, to be attentive when you don't feel good. And a big hug and love to all the parents out there who've been through this experience or who are going through it right now or who are about to go through it, because we're still a human family. We're all in this together and everything is figure outable. You know, there is a strategy, there's something there. There's a lesson to be learned. It's a gift. This is a great gift. And trying to figure this stuff out with our little babies and helping to raise strong, healthy individuals. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. We talked about paying off sleep debt, the truth about naps, and sleep tips for parents. Now, if you know anybody that this could be helpful for, make sure to share this out on social media. Share this on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. You can shoot them an email with the link to the show. This is something really valuable for a lot of people. And the truth is, in our society right now, this information isn't very well known, you know, especially when it comes to a subject like napping.
Exactly.
You know, and I saw that when I got out there and was able to talk with people. So I wanted to provide you with a really definitive, powerful guide to help you to make some more intelligent decisions and to utilize this stuff for your benefit. So thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I appreciate you immensely. We've got some incredible guests and incredible show topics coming up very soon. So make sure to stay tuned. Take care. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon.